This week on 0 Days Since Nonsense, my refrigerator wants internet access. No! You're a cold box. Your job is to keep food cold. At no point in this relationship did I ask you to join the network, download firmware, or send me a notification because somebody left the door open for 14 seconds. But somehow that's where we're at. We've got light bulbs with apps, doorbells with connected accounts, washing machines sending me notifications, and refrigerators that apparently need the Wi-Fi password. And look, I work in security. The fewer household appliances I have to think about patching, the happier I'm going to be. So today, we're talking about the Internet of Things, or IoT for short, why a lot of it drives me insane, where it actually makes sense, and why connecting every random thing in your house to the internet comes with way more baggage than the box at Best Buy is ever going to tell you about. Because the moment your appliance gets Wi-Fi, it's not just an appliance anymore. It's a computer, a weird little computer with one job, and now I have to care about it. I don't hate smart devices because technology scares me. I hate them because a lot of IoT products combine three things I really don't want together: cheap hardware, long lifespans, and internet access. Your phone gets updates. Your laptop gets updates. That $24 smart plug from a company called something like Smartsy Home Plugs might get 2 firmware updates, 1 app redesign, and then the company disappears into the void. Meanwhile, that plug's still sitting in your house 6 years later, connected to the network, doing whatever little smart plug things it does. That's the part that people don't really think about when they buy this stuff. The physical device might last for years, but the software might not. And the second you add Wi-Fi to something, you've turned it into a tiny computer, whether you wanted to or not. Now, some smart devices make total sense. A security camera that can check while you're away? Sure. A thermostat that you can control remotely? I'm not a fan, but I get it. Being able to see that your garage door is still open after you've already driven 20 minutes away is actually pretty useful. The problem is, somewhere along the way, smart became the selling point itself. It stopped being, would connecting this make the product better, and became, can we physically fit a Wi-Fi chip inside of this? And apparently, the answer is almost always yes. And that's how we end up with connected coffee makers, toothbrushes, and refrigerators with enough computing power to become emotionally unavailable when the cloud service goes down. Every time you add connectivity, you're adding more than just a cool app. Now you've got accounts, firmware, a cloud service somewhere, and an app that has to keep working for however long you plan to own the thing. A normal appliance can break, a smart appliance can break and have a login problem. And on top of that, a lot of IoT hardware is built to be cheap. That's not automatically bad. Nobody wants to spend $180 on a light bulb because the manufacturer hired a full security team for it, but when you're trying to sell a connected device for $20, every dollar matters. Security is competing with hardware, the app, the cloud service, and the very important requirement for the box to say smart in giant letters. So you start seeing the same problems over and over. Default passwords that never get changed, old software components that sit around forever, and firmware updates that happen whenever the manufacturer remembers that the product still exists. And none of that's especially visible to the person that's buying it. You can compare brightness, you can compare camera resolution, you can check whether it works with Alexa. What you can't check is whether the manufacturer will still care about the device in 7 years. And honestly, that's the part that I want to know. Because security isn't just about the device working on day one. It's about whether anybody's still maintaining it years later. And one thing I hear when I talk about IoT is, it's just a light bulb, who cares? And that's fair. Nobody's breaking into your light bulb because they desperately need control over your kitchen lighting. Attackers don't care what the device was designed to do. They care that it's a computer connected to a network. If it's vulnerable, weakly protected, or exposed in a way that it shouldn't be, it can still be useful to them. Maybe it's a botnet. Maybe it's another foothold. Maybe it's another device sitting on your network waiting for the automated scanning to find it. There doesn't need to be some guy in a hoodie specifically targeting your refrigerator. Machines scan for machines. If yours answers in an interesting way, congratulations, you've just made a new friend. And that's why it's just a smart plug doesn't really work as a security argument. The internet doesn't care what shape the computer is. It can still be taken advantage of, it can still be used to steal your information, and it can still be used to see what pictures are on your phone. Now, I'm being a little bit dramatic there, but it's important that we understand that IoT devices aren't just there to be cool and allow you to access things whether you're not at home or through an app. They're a big risk, and it's important that we take the time to properly set them up. And one of the main risks that comes with IoT devices is the device might outlive the company. And this is probably my biggest issue with smart devices. Physical products can last a long time. You might keep a refrigerator for 10 years, and a camera might work perfectly for 5. A smart lock isn't something you're planning on replacing every time a tech company gets bored. But smart devices don't just depend on the hardware anymore. They're depending on apps, cloud services, login systems, and a company that continues to care about them. And that's such a weird deal. You bought a product, it's sitting in your house, it works mechanically, but now some service 3 states away stopped answering, so apparently your light switch has reached its end of life. And it's not always because somebody did something shady. Companies go out of business. Apps get abandoned. That's normal business stuff. It just gets a bit more annoying when normal business stuff can brick something attached to your wall. This is also why I care whether a device can still do its basic job when the internet goes down. If my smart light can't turn on because AWS is having a bad afternoon, we've taken a wrong turn somewhere. And reminiscing on the past, the average home network used to be pretty simple. You'd have one computer, maybe two, and a router. Done. Go look at the device list on your router now. You've got phones, laptops, TVs, consoles, cameras, and some mystery device named ESP_4C91A2 that you swear you've never seen before in your life. Your house has basically become a tiny corporate network, except there's no IT department. It's you. Congrats on the promotion, by the way. And unlike your laptop, you're not thinking about the smart bulb security posture. You're not checking whether the camera's got a firmware update. You're definitely not opening a vulnerability dashboard for the washing machine. And that's why I like separating IoT devices from stuff that I actually care about when it's practical. If your router supports a guest network or a separate IoT network, that's a pretty easy way to give devices internet access without letting every cheap smart gadget sit right next to your work laptop. Your smart toaster doesn't need to meet the file server. They've got nothing to talk about. And this would be way easier if every smart device was completely pointless, but they're not. Remote control is useful. Automations are useful. Cameras and door sensors can genuinely make the home easier to manage. The problem isn't connectivity itself, the problem is acting like the connectivity is free. The moment you connect something to the network, you've created another device that needs sane authentication, updates, and a manufacturer that's going to keep supporting it. And ideally, it should have a reason to be connected in the first place. Consumers shouldn't need to do a vendor risk assessment before buying a light bulb. I'd just like the light bulb manufacturer to have done one. And now that I've made you sufficiently scared of your smart refrigerator, it's time for this week's recurring segment, Things Security Says. First, put your IoT devices on a separate network. What everyone hears is, security made a special Wi-Fi prison just for the refrigerator. What security actually means is, the refrigerator needs internet, but it doesn't need unrestricted access to every other device you own. Next, change the default password. What everyone hears is, great, another password for another thing that I have to write on a sticky note. What security actually means is, the camera watching your front door probably shouldn't be using admin forever. And finally, check whether the device still gets updates. What everyone hears is, you want me to patch a light bulb? What security actually means is, yes, and I hate the sentence just as much as you do. And that's IoT in a nutshell. We've connected the house to the internet, and now the house has patch management. Wonderful. Okay, but seriously, I'm not saying you need to rip every smart device out of your house and go back to candles. Just be a little bit more deliberate about what you connect. Before you buy something, ask yourself whether the smart feature is actually useful to you. If it is, great. Buy from a company that looks like it's going to support the product. Change the default password. Turn on automatic updates if the device supports them. And don't just expose random devices directly to the internet because some YouTube tutorial told you how to forward a port. If your router makes it easy to create a guest or IoT network, then use it. And I'm not asking you to create an enterprise network at home. I'm just saying you don't need to give the $19 smart plug the same level of trust as the computer you use for work. And remember, if it connects to your network, it's part of your network, even if it is shaped just like a refrigerator. The key takeaways for this episode were, not everything needs Wi-Fi. Connectivity can make a product genuinely better, but it also turns a product into a tiny computer that depends on software, updates, cloud services, and a company continuing to care about it. That's the trade. I'm not anti-IoT, I'm anti-we added Wi-Fi because marketing needed another bullet point. If the connection adds real value, then awesome. But if it doesn't, maybe the refrigerator can just be a refrigerator. Just keep the milk cold. We've already got a big enough attack surface. I don't need my toaster opening up my network to even more attackers. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of 0 Days Since Nonsense. For this week's audience question, what's the dumbest product you've seen that somebody decided needed Wi-Fi? Leave your answer in the comments below. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.